Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be looking at using Microsoft Kinect Xbox 2 sensor and skeletal tracking. We're working in openFrameworks and we're going to build a simple demo, and I'm using the Xbox Kinect Natural Interaction library that's available from Roy McDonald. There are several other versions available, but this is the current one that I'm working with, and you can get it from github.com, Roy McDonald /OFXNI2, and the URL will be in the comments and on screen for you right now. So we've got the README files. There's some information here that you really do need to go through carefully because some of the setup is a little bit tricky. There's a couple of different libraries that the natural interaction and skeletal tracking is going to rely on. There's a new openNI driver which you can download, and I'm doing the setup on OS 10. And the setup for Linux and Windows is slightly different, so do go through these various steps and hopefully your example code will run and then you can start building your own projects. So for Linux, follow this procedure. For OS 10, the procedure is pretty straightforward, but we need to do a simple thing. I'm working in Xcode development environment, and we need to tell Xcode where to find certain files that our openFrameworks add-on is going to rely on to do the skeletal tracking. And what we do is we build an extra phase at the end of our build cycle for compiling Clang or compiling C++, and the instructions are here. And what I'm going to do is I've downloaded the add-on using Git, but you can also download as a zip file. I've put it into my add-ons folder, and here it is, OFXNI2, and we're going to build the example user tracker. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh and update using the project generator. So I'm going to search through to my add-ons folder, open NI2, open the example, so that this is where I want to build a new Xcode project, so it updates it for the latest permissions and so on. I know that's been changing a little bit recently. I import the code and I just tell it to update. If you're working on Linux and Windows, you don't need to do this step. It's just a little thing that helps make sure that I'm not falling foul of any new permissions or conflicts that Xcode as a development environment is trying to build for me. So I'm going to open this in Xcode IDE, and I can see I've got a standard setup. It's adding in these header files from my object. It's building a device and a tracker object, a couple of images, and I've got some setup here. But if I look at the README instructions, there's a couple of things that I need to do just to make sure that OS 10 can link to the additional pieces of code that it needs. Helpfully, the descriptions are pretty good, and I need to set up a build phase run script build phase. So I'm going to copy these pieces of scripts, go to Xcode, go to build phases, build phase run script, so it makes a new run script that will be run through when I ask this project to build. And here it is, the run script, and I open it up and you can see there's a space here to put my script into. So I'm going to paste that in. It's all in, saying here's a target, copy this file. And because I'm working on a later version, I'm using Mojave I'm going to copy this additional piece here and paste it in. And I've got my Kinect sensor plugged in, I've got it all powered up, and I'm going to tell it to build this project. So it compiles, we'll double check whether the linking's working. It's built successfully. I can see I've got a depth image here, and I've got my sensor set up. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kick my chair out of the way, step back, and as you can see on screen, as soon as the depth sensor gets a reasonable, move this around a little bit, a reasonable view of me, it starts being able to track the points in my skeleton because it's able to isolate what it thinks is a body, recognize head, arms, legs are going a little bit weird. There is a depth image with full skeletal tracking. And I can go to the Xbox Kinect routines and say, have you found any things that you think are human bodies? If you have, can you please tell me how many you found? And can then you go through and tell me the XYZ position of the head, of the hands, the hips, the legs, the orientation, and so on. So I can now start to do much more complicated things, analyzing people's bodies, rather than just getting the depth information that's coming back. I can actually start to say, what can we do with the depth information of recognizing people? So if I want to track somebody's hand, rather than trying to work out, is this object a hand, I can say, have you found a person? If you have, tell me where their hands are. So that's one part of the demo. So let's quit that and have a quick walk through the code. So looking at the code, we have a bunch of standard things from openFrameworks. We're going to make an NI2 device, and then we're going to make a tracker. In the setup, we set the frame rate, set the background to be black, switch the logging on. We set up our Kinect device and we set up a tracker. And we tell it that we're going to feed it the device. When we exit, we clear them to free up the devices. In the update, we're just saying, have you got new information? Can you update the device, please? We're drawing the depth pixels currently. So we're loading the depth pixels from the tracker object, as we've seen with the Kinect1, putting it into a depth pixels object, making a texture, and then we're drawing the texture. Now, what we can also do is here we've got a nice version of drawing in 3D, so I'm going to uncomment this portion and I'm going to comment out drawing in 2D. So let's see what we get. So we build and run, and there we have two skeletal trackings being drawn of me and a huge box where my head is, and as you can see, it's tracking me. The lighting's not perfect and I can spend a little bit more time. I've got this optimized really for you to see, but I have an easy cam object and I can go and take this central drawing version and see me from any angle. And there we have some of the beginning of skeletal tracking. And if we uncomment this middle section of drawing a 3D skeleton in 2D and just draw in 3D, we'll be able to go through, look at our object and say, has it found a person? So now it's drawing one skeleton, it's tracking where my head is and drawing a box where my head is, and we have the easy cam so I can zoom in and zoom out and see. All of the different tracking that's available using Xbox Kinect sensor and the NI toolkit. So I'm going to be doing some more videos about using this and working on different things. You can get the code from Roy McDonald. There are other forks of the NI toolkit for openFrameworks. Please hit the subscribe button. Like the video, give me some comments, give me some feedback, let me know what else you'd like to have a look at, and I'm going to be building more work looking at art projects and creative coding with openFrameworks, and I'll speak to you really soon.